Today, Riot announces they're the new Blizzard, and Blizzard announces they're bad at this. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint, where this week we want to remind our fellow Canadians to get out and vote on October 21st.
Unless you're like me and have already voted at an advanced polling station. I'm really hoping that Chocolate Fudge Ripple wins this year.
Beej, I'm pretty sure that is not a party in the federal election.
Election? Are you sure this isn't a nationwide poll to find the most delicious sundae topping?
Yes, I am definitely sure.
I guess that explains why all the other flavors sounded terrible. Gaming backlog got you down? Too many good games coming out and you just don't know what to play? Boy, do I have a solution for you. Almost 7,000 DOS games are now playable in browser thanks to the Internet Archive. Upside, archival systems are working and these games are not lost forever. Downside, that's 7,000 more games in your I'll get to these when I have time pile. Luckily for you, in his blog post announcing the latest batch of 2,500 games, Internet Archive software curator Jason Scott encapsulated the entire DOS archive in 7 easy-to-remember words. Not all games are enjoyable to play. And he's not kidding. I called up Accolade's The Games Winter Challenge, expecting to be catapulted back to being 15 years old and clicking a bobsled from left to right. And instead, I was still 40, clicking a bobsled from left to right. You can't go back, and even when you can, there's no reason to. Anyway, have fun with the new old games. The vast majority suck ass, so play some SimCity at work and try not to get caught.
Riot Games is no longer content with being responsible for all the cosplay you don't recognize at a Comic-Con, and has also realized that not everyone likes playing MOBAs anymore. So if players are moving away from League of Legends in favor of games in other genres, the only solution is to make games in all of those genres. During Riot's anniversary livestream, they announced 9 new projects, including a digital card game, a third-person RPG, a mobile version of Teamfight Tactics, an animated series, a fighting game, a retro pixel side-scroller, a character-based first-person shooter, an esports team management simulator, a documentary, and a whole other new version of League for mobile and console. That is so many projects in so many disparate genres that I made one of those up and I can't remember which one. Some of them don't even have names and were announced as Project A, Project F, and Project L. There's a lot more than 9 letters between A and L, so Riot's been busy behind the scenes. For 10 years, Riot made League of Legends and League of Legends accessories and then overnight announced, oh, we're Blizzard now.
Want to play your old Game Boy Advance games the way you remember them, instead of how they actually were? Well, Analogue, the makers of those really high-end retro gaming consoles made out of metal that cost half your rent, are making a new device, the Analogue Pocket. The hardware is impressive, sporting a USB-C rechargeable battery, a screen that's higher res than most cell phones, and an optional HDMI dock so you can stream your handheld games without modding your old consoles. Software-wise, it plays all your old Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance cartridges, plus other handheld consoles, since the 2 onboard FPGA chips are emulating the hardware down to the last detail. Now, FPGA stands for Field Programmable Gate Array, meaning that they are custom chips you can program in the field with new firmware to pretend to be completely different hardware. Which means, if you hold your breath for a minute, third-party programmers will almost certainly make firmware to reprogram said FPGA to emulate other hardware. Hardware with cartridges that don't plug into the Analogue Pocket. So are you paying $200 for a pocketable device that'll let you play back all those NES, Super NES, and Genesis ROMs you downloaded off the internet in the comforting haze of a legal gray area? Perhaps. Analogue maintains that the Pocket doesn't support playing ROM files. So, since that's certainly never going to happen, I guess I'll just buy one to play the backlog of quality titles from the Atari Lynx? Sure.
Checking back in with the dumpster fire that's been Blizzard's week, they finally made a statement. Recall that this whole crapstorm kicked off when Hearthstone Grandmasters competitor Blitzchung supported Hong Kong protesters on the official Blizzard stream, resulting in a 1-year ban, losing his prize money, and the casters being fired. Well, president of Blizzard Entertainment J. Allen Brack finally released a statement at the traditional corporate apology time of 5:30 p.m. on a Friday, aka the PR dead zone. This was a statement, though, not an apology. The closest Brack comes to admitting any fault is saying that they realize now they acted too quickly. So they have reduced Blitzchung's ban to 6 months and reinstated his prize money. But Brack said that Chung still violated the rules and this punishment would have happened no matter which side of the conflict he supported, a comment which was believed only by gullible Ivan, the man who believes anything, especially considering that post on the official Hearthstone Weibo about defending our nation's dignity. As for the two broadcasters who were previously assumed to be fired with the wording, "we will not work with them again," they have also had their punishment reduced to a 6-month ban for, quote, failing to keep the broadcast focused on the event. So heads up, esports interviewers, if your subject shows up wearing a gas mask, just pretend it's not there and keep asking your normal questions like an idiot. Additionally, remember the collegiate Hearthstone team from American University who held up the Free Hong Kong Boycott Blizzard sign? After being told they wouldn't receive any kind of ban for their actions, they told Blizzard that was pretty effing hypocritical considering how harshly Blitzchung had been treated, and forfeited all of their games for the rest of the season. So in the interest of fairness, they have also now been given a 6-month ban, which is a profoundly "you can't quit, you're fired" move by Blizzard, but it's at least consistent with how much they've fucking bungled everything else this week.
Okay, so during your Blizzard story, I was doing some reading, and it turns out that none of the parties have a firm stance on ice cream in their platforms.
Regretfully, that is not a topic of great national concern.
Why do I even live here? Coming up, Fortnite had a huge game-wide event this week in preparation for... And even when you can, there's no reason to. Anyway, have fun with... Oh, fuck.
Sorry.
You were trying to hold that.
Yeah, I was trying to just kind of let that sink in.
There's more to that story.
Yeah, there's only 2 more sentences.
That was my fault.